Welcome to A Moment with Modern Mentors. Welcome to the podcast. Alice, it's been awesome trying to get this set up. I'm so excited about today's podcast with you. Why don't you start off by introducing yourself to the listeners and give us your little personal bio?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. I'm Alice Pritchard-Davies. I'm co-founder of Huddle Babysitting, and we connect families with trusted recommended sitters in their local area when and where they need. It's great to be here, and it's so lovely catching up with you finally.
I know, it's been so long. We used to work together at Universal Music, and actually, when did you leave? I
don't know.
I left around 2016, so I think you were a year or so before.
Yeah.
And but yeah, you know, that was a fun time, fun career. But I've got to say, when you left and started up Huddle, because you went straight into Huddle.
It was actually after I'd already quit Universal and went for a jog one lunchtime, which I would never normally do. But, you know, once you've quit and you're like, oh, I'm not so stressed anymore. I can take an hour out for myself and breathe. And yeah, from all these conversations with Millie, who I was living with at the time, it kind of, was going for a run, and then just all these conversations with Millie just kind of came in this light bulb of we should do something together, and then called her, and we kind of nutted it out pretty quickly. So yeah, I quit without the concept, but then started it straight away.
Basically you were in a marketing role at Universal Music. You were kind of like out and about in all the artist and release world, very much kind of like a high profile job. And then suddenly out of the blue, I remember one day, we weren't in the same departments, but I remember, you know, I always kind of, you know, we always had a chat and things. One day you just decided to resign. I think everyone was like, what? This is crazy, because no one really does that in the music industry. And you were quite out there in doing that, because people kind of get stuck in there for decades. And, you know, you were brave and just decided that's not for me anymore. I'm leaving. Tell us about what happened there.
Well, yeah, that's right. It was, I did love many aspects of the job, as everyone does. And the people there, you know, are just so incredible and so much fun and so talented. And I think it was really more a decision for future me, because what I realised, and I'd love to hear your perspective on this, is it didn't feel like the music industry is very perhaps supportive exactly. So I felt like I wanted to have a family one day, and with, you know, nighttime gigs on a Tuesday and going to festivals on weekends, it felt like that was going to be really, really difficult. And, you know, as you know, you don't get paid as much when your job's really fun. So there were kind of those considerations too, that really made me think for the longer term. And then once I decided I tend to do this, I just did it straight away, like basically the next day, just because I just can't have things sitting over me. I just need to get it done. And then, it was, there seemed to be quite an avalanche of people leaving after that. Just, I'm sure by coincidence, they were just also thinking about it. But yeah, it was, and that, you know, there weren't many women in senior management. There certainly weren't many mums in senior management. And rather than, you know, taking that on, I just felt like for me the better thing was, I'd always wanted to do my own thing anyway, so I thought I'd have some space and time to kind of work out what's next. But then it didn't take long to take something else on. I was planning to have a little bit of a break, but that didn't happen.
Well, I don't think that was ever going to happen with someone like you. You were very much someone, I remember when working with you, that very focused and driven. So it didn't surprise me at all seeing you come, you know, out with a brand new concept and something that you could, you know, call your own. So when you launched, and it was launched as Motherhood, right?
It was, yes.
How did you kind of come up with that whole concept? Because, you know, you and your co-founder Millie Zinner were not neither of you were mothers at the time. Where did that idea come from?
It was really strange. So, I mean, so I was living with Millie at the time, and she's an actress and was working in production, or just left her job in production. So we both just left our jobs. And so we were having these big chats about, you know, life and our futures, and what we were seeing, you know, amongst our friends and just, you know, generally in society is how difficult it is for many women to juggle careers or businesses and taking on, their unequal fair share of the unpaid work and the mental load as well. So, and then at the same time, what we were also seeing is this really strong drive for women to support each other and help each other. So the original concept it was called Motherhood. It was Mothers in the Hood. So it was more about mums supporting each other and women supporting each other on that journey, and helping each other with that flexible support network they need to achieve what they want to in their corporate life or starting up their business or whatever it is. And I think that was really great having a really niche, specific target audience at launch. We didn't really know how far it was going to go or what was going to happen. So, obviously lots of dads started using it because it's a childcare app, and that's great because we absolutely did not want to exclude dads from that, that role. So then we started thinking about a name change because we just found that we were having to explain the name. And you don't want to have to do that, like a lot of people loved it. So it was quite divisive when we changed it in a way, but I think now everyone's on board with our reasoning, because the way to empower women is to certainly make sure dads are equally included in that role and that responsibility. And we definitely did not want to, look like that we were suggesting that it was more so the woman's role. So that's why the name changed to Huddle, which we absolutely love. Huddle's a collective noun for penguins. And penguins huddle together for support. And obviously, humans huddle together for, strategizing and to help each other. So we thought it was nice because that's what we're all about.
Oh, it's awesome. I love that name. I mean, I think you're right. Like, I remember when you changed the name, and I really been on board with the motherhood statement, but Huddle was perfect as a second option. I think you're right. Like, it probably sounds like you had seen that your audience needed to broaden out to be more accommodating to men, which is something you can only learn in the process of doing it, right?
Yeah, that's right. Because we thought, it might be this really great, strong network of women supporting each other, and that would have been great too. But it didn't. It evolved into something else, and we just wanted our name to make sense for the group. And also, penguins are quite famous for sharing the childcare responsibility, if you could call it that, or what are the baby penguins called? Anyway, they share it quite equally, 50-50 with the mum and dad penguins. So we thought that was pretty cute.
That's so awesome.
Yeah. And actually we've seen the most incredible change in the number of dads using our app. Like, the proportion of dads and mums has shifted dramatically since COVID. So before COVID, we were sitting around 15% of dads posting jobs, and now it's hovering around 30%.
Wow.
Which is incredible. So we're really hoping to get to gender parity this year and have 50%, like 50-50 mums and dads posting the jobs.
And it's quite an interesting time, because I think maybe as a relief for a lot of dads that they can actually be involved in the raising of their kids, whereas before it's hard to imagine only a year ago we were still very divided into men and women and certain roles and responsibilities, largely because of the way our government supplies childcare benefits to women going on maternity leave and men going on paternity leave. I mean, 2 weeks of paternity leave is still our mandated government support for men. Doesn't really make sense. But now, with all flexible work and people, men being able to stay home, the world has shifted so incredibly. It's
amazing how quickly that's happened. It's incredible. And with really big companies changing their parental leave policies to be, equal and inclusive for dads is just amazing. And also, leave for women who've had miscarriages, and there's certainly a lot changing very fast, which is really great to see, and we're excited to be part of that.
And so you launched Huddle, and you went on the journey, and obviously you came up until you've launched an app in the App Store, which is obviously the basis of the business, right? The ability to have an app that allows you to book your babysitting needs. Do you want to just talk us through how the app came about, development of the app and getting it in the App Store and things like that, and now where you're at in terms of the app itself?
Yeah. So basically after Millie and I kind of had these chats and decided we wanted to do this together, we We were so green looking back, but we were so we had such big goals and big vision for the business. So we kind of just sat down at a cafe in Paddington, spent many hours just sketching down in notebooks how we thought it was going to work. And Millie was incredible at really seeing the future of where things were going. And pushing our MVP in that direction, and not being too kind of too simple. So it was very, from the start, it was hyper local, which is really important, which is why we launched on mobile, not desktop, because busy parents, out and about, needing to kind of have it in their hands. So that's why we decided to go with an app build rather than a website, so that it could be really convenient and fast and easy for parents. So we kind of basically Googled, how do you write an app brief? Because I've written a trillion briefs in my life for marketing campaigns, advertising campaigns and things, but I'd never written an app brief before. So I was sure there'd be a template on the internet, and there was. So we started filling that out and just really nutting out how we thought we wanted it to work. And then we went out and got quotes from different developers and realised that we couldn't afford to do it. And then we kind of scratched together all our savings, and then worked with a developer in Australia who loved the concept, and we gave them a bit of equity in exchange for a much kind of lower upfront cost to get the MVP out. And they've been incredible, and they still are. The founder of that company is now our CTO.
Wow.
He's just amazing. So yeah, we got, looking back, it seems like just a lot of luck in many ways, and a lot of fortuitous conversations when we had, quotes from a company in India that looked very, very appealing.
Yes.
And then someone, just said to us, do not use that company, because, it's very unlikely you'll get the communication back fast enough. And and it's just very, very hard to deal with the company when you don't know the people personally and have that. And so I mean, a lot of the connections that obviously having two co-founders, you've kind of got double the network, but then you're recommended people through your network of people, and that's kind of been beneficial to you in the terms of getting this app up and running. And now obviously you've built a long-term relationship with a company and a CTO, founder, that's now the CTO, which is incredible. What kind of application was it at the time, and what kind of application is it now? What's changed and evolved over those 5 years? We didn't use a designer, so we didn't use a UX UI designer to build it initially. We basically designed the screens ourselves, and then the developers kind of created them pretty close to our designs. So that has been the biggest change now. We did a complete redesign in late 2019, and it just looks so much nicer. It just looks for starters, we use this kind of light lavender purple originally, and that just doesn't contrast enough with white on a screen, and we did not know that. So that's where professionals are really, really helpful, professional designers. And it's just a lot. We've got loads and loads and loads more features. It's more intuitive, but it's never quite where we want it. We've always got another list
of things that you want to action.
Huge long list, of things.
Only limited by time and cost, right?
Yeah, that's it. Just resources. Finite resources is what we're dealing with. But advertising what we're doing on product is our biggest challenge and question. What do we do next? And
which order to put them in.
Yeah, that's right. There's a lovely framework to work it out, which one of our advisors taught us, which has been really, really helpful. Just basically, how hard is it versus what's the likely impact, and then kind of putting that on a matrix, and then working out from there that you do the ones that are the least resource and the most impact.
Oh, I love that. That's great. You're going to have to share with us a few of these little tips at the end. Your app template and your framework as well.
Yeah, sure.
And so you've kind of got the app launched. It's looking better now. What are the main kind of stat differences? I know you said that you've had a shift obviously in the mail skew on it. But how have you kind of managed through, I'm assuming, people not knowing you in the beginning and kind of getting your business up and running and out there and known? How have you grown your business so it's actually a business? Because you started quite local, as you said, kind of area by area, and now I went onto your website this week and you've got kind of like the whole of Australia covered and all the major cities.
Yeah, we do. We certainly have it covered. We're definitely mostly active on the East Coast. So Sydney, Melbourne, Southeast Queensland still are our major markets. Gosh, how we got it started. I mean, we had probably several key moments that really impacted our growth. We early on got on the Today Show, which was just massive. We had 1,000 downloads overnight, and then continued downloads for weeks and weeks after that. So, and we did that ourselves. We didn't use a PR agency. So I definitely encourage people to just reach out to journalists, have a chat, find out what they're interested in writing about or doing stories about, and talk to friends who know about PR, and just give it a go yourself if you can't afford it. Obviously, ideal to outsource it, but sometimes you don't have that luxury. So that was one. We got into the StartMate Accelerator program, which is an incredible program which gave us some cash and an amazing network of advisors and other businesses that we could learn from. So that was one. Then we got our formal advisory board together from amazing people who are the product advisor is ex-Google and now at Atlassian. Tim Fung, who's the CEO of Airtasker, is on our advisory board, and that's obviously very similar business but much broader across many more verticals. So he's just unreal, with that marketplace experience. And then Levi Aaron, who started Deliveroo in Australia as well.
Wow, so this is an impressive board.
They are unreal. Yeah. So
and how did you attract all those people? Like, what was the kind of starting point for all that?
So Joel, who's our product advisor, we met through StartMate, and we just gelled with him. He really loved our vision and what we were doing. And what usually happens is people in the startup world are so generous with their time, and they love to help because they know how hard it is. Yeah. Especially other founders. So, and when they're passionate about your mission and what you're doing, they just are so generous with their time and knowledge. So Tim and Joel had been kind of just helping us out. Like, I met Tim again through a contact at StartMate, and just met him for a couple of coffees and a couple of chats, and he's just always been so helpful and so supportive of us. So then one day I kind of went and presented our whole strategy to him, and then asked him to join our advisory board, and he said yes, which was unreal. So, and then Levi as well, we were just introduced to, and you can just tell when people support you as founders and believe in you as founders. That's the most important thing. And because it's so hard and you need those people to pick you up at times, people you can be really raw and honest with, and open about challenges and issues that you're facing as well. So it's like a family. They're just so incredibly supportive no matter what, and just anything they can help with, they're there. So, and
has that meant that they've kind of helped? Have you had people kind of lean in to help with funding and raising money, or has it been still self-funded since the beginning?
We've raised little bits of money here and there. So we funded the MVP ourselves, as I said, through scratching together savings. Then we did the StartMate program, which you get some funding through. And then we did a crowdfunding campaign. So that enabled our customers and friends and family to invest as well. And then we got the Boosting Female Founders grant. So that's all the funding that we've had to date. Where last year, as you know, was just super strange. So we kind of didn't do any more last year. We didn't know what was going to happen. We had almost zero gross monthly volume through the platform in those down months. Yeah. So it was, it was just
tightening your belt.
Yeah. So we just reduced our costs and focused on our longer term strategy for what we were guessing the world was going to be like at the end of it all.
And how close were you to that?
Well, actually pretty close in some aspects, in the shift, really sudden shift to more flexible working. Because when we originally built the concept, we could already see that trend happening. And, a lot of women starting businesses to enable that more flexible working, balancing, juggling their families and running a business, enabled more flexibility. And, we were seeing more businesses being more flexible, just mainly to do with traffic congestion and things like that. And it was just more efficient to let people work from home one day a week or something. So we already saw that trend, and we were like, this is going to continue. People need a flexible support network when they're not working 9 to 5 Monday to Friday, because you don't have the same nanny available when your schedule is changing week to week. And then that just absolutely accelerated beyond anything we could have ever imagined to, now people really, really need that. And there's really big companies that have gone almost all remote workforce. And so people need access to, to support in a really different way to they ever needed before. So that's really benefited our business. We have, big companies and startups who are enabling they're giving their employees access to Huddle as backup childcare as a benefit. And that was something that was a bit of a conversation that we were trying to have before COVID. And what sales is like with big companies, it was kind of a slow process. And now they're coming to us. And they've been like, how do we do this quick?
So what is the model? Tell us a bit about the model for the consumer, and then how that kind of changes, or if it does, for corporate.
It's so for access for parents, it's $99 a year, and that gives you unlimited access to our network of vetted recommended carers. And that, basically they can post as many different types of jobs as they want. If they need a carer all week for 3 weeks, they can find that, or if they just need ad hoc babysitting, they can find that. So it includes everything for $100 a year. Our business model with corporates kind of varies on the client, whether or not they need kind of account management or anything custom, or whether it's just straight up they just pay for the access and then the parent expenses the care that they use, which is really straightforward for us, because it's basically, it works the same, but the business is paying for it.
Fantastic. So basically businesses are getting on board with actually supporting their workers with subsidising childcare.
Yeah, that's right. They're really walking the walk. So there's, depending on the business, a budget per parent employee, and they can simply expense the care that they use through Huddle.
Wow, that's incredible. That's just how it should be, isn't it? I mean, when you hear about these kind of companies pushing forward with flexible care, this is the next level.
Yeah, that's right. And it's really exciting to see just how quickly that mindset has changed for, for people who work in people and culture teams or in management and businesses. It's really front and centre with their workforce being, in the office Monday this week, Thursday next week.
Yeah.
It's a completely different world to what it was before.
And I mean, obviously that seems to kind of signal the fact that you could scale on quite a dramatic level, because I guess, you can channel in through a corporate, but obviously that parent can then use Huddle for their personal babysitting needs as well, right? So you're getting out to a much broader audience or bigger audience quickly. Are there any
channel to market? Yeah.
Are there any clients that you can share, like public?
No, not at the moment. We're still under confidentiality. Actually, the biggest one hasn't rolled out to the actual employees yet.
Right. So very live.
Yes, it's all happening. Yeah, as we speak.
Fantastic. Well, let us know as soon as you can, and we'll share the news, because obviously once one corporate gets on board, they'll all want to follow the trend, right?
Yeah, that's right. Hopefully.
And I guess, I've actually used Huddle a couple of times myself, once in Brisbane and once when I was at the Snow.
I know, I remember
the most random of kind of job, looking for someone to look after my daughter when we were skiing. Yeah, and we found the most incredible woman. In fact, Poppy, my daughter, still keeps talking.
Oh, that's so cute. We just love stories like that. And that's the other thing, it's so flexible. You've got carers when you go on holiday, you've got carers if you have a business meeting in Melbourne or whatever it is. And we have what we love as well is we have mums with young babies who actually book carers to come to the office and look after their bubs in and around the office so they can still breastfeed and check in and stuff.
My goodness, that is brilliant. Yeah. And how do you kind of, what's the reason that someone doesn't kind of just bypass the app and then leave and kind of find their favorite babysitter and do a private deal? Is there a reason why you can keep people in that environment? What's the benefits for the parents?
Yeah, well, what we find is certainly, when you meet an amazing carer, you would love to book them again if you can. So you can actually just message them through the app and pay them directly. You don't need to go and post a job and go your normal path if you do want to do that. And we don't take a clip from the carer's pay. So, it's really simple and easy to just pay them and rate and review them through the app, and that means they'll have more ratings and reviews on their profile, and then it builds the strength of the community. So, and basically the value to the parent for $99 a year is if that person isn't available, you still have access to plenty of other amazing local carers. So you can just post a job. If you reach out to them and they're not free, you can just post a job and connect with someone else, and then hopefully just build up an amazing network of support where we have some parents who basically post a job each night for the next day, just depending on what meetings they have that day. And every family is different. So that's why a marketplace is so great over an agency, because you know what your family is like, the type of carer that they'll love more so than an agency might. So you can read their bios and read their ratings and reviews and see the beautiful photos, and then you can really get a feel for what they're like and book the person that is most suited to you and your family and your needs.
And it really is, like you're just describing, what sounds probably to a lot of people like a dating app. And in a way it is, right? Because you've got pictures of the babysitter with children and ratings and testimonials about them, so you can have this real level of comfort that you might not get ordinarily with a normal babysitter you found recommended through a friend or anywhere else.
Yeah, it's smarter matching is the way we like to think about it. It gives parents the ability to see the options available to them and then to choose what feels right for them. And you can call them and chat with them and, set up an in-person interview beforehand if you want. I love that you call it a dating app, because dating apps, I'm pretty sure, don't have ratings and reviews.
They should though, shouldn't they?
Unless they've changed since I used them. That's hilarious. Imagine. They really should.
Yeah. Oh gosh, that'd be quite dangerous, wouldn't it? Sorry, no good. Was awful on a date.
Your whole life's over because someone leaves you a bad review.
And I mean, have you seen, I guess, one of the things that kind of personally been through myself, but, one of the things I keep noticing is the amount of families that are, single parent families. And obviously that adds an extra level of complexity for both the man and the woman. But I can imagine a service like Huddle would be a perfect kind of complement to someone who is single parenting or solo parenting.
That's right, yeah.
Do you kind of understand your audience by, status in terms of their marital, single, what their status is? Or
I don't ask them for that information, but we certainly, get feedback or, hear of stories from customers where they've been particularly helped for that reason. So we don't have that as data, but absolutely, single parent families have it a lot harder in many ways, and we love that we can support that, and also families who don't live nearby their parents or their family, if they're that's actually why we launched in Bondi, because there's so many expats and we knew they didn't have that family support. So that was, and that's just more and more now, people it's such a global world and living everywhere. So they need, it's kind of, bringing back the village where we've become a global village, and you still need your local village.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, it's quite life-changing just having, especially for young families, having the ability to go and, do something on their own without, worrying about the kids, or actually being able to just go and have some time to, to out, not being a parent. And that bringing back the village kind of quote or statement that you use, that's really something that underpins the Huddle business, right?
That was a really big thing for us when we originally launched, was this kind of realization that in this modern Western society, we've kind of lost that connection and that village that we really do need. And perhaps humans didn't evolve to care for children all by themselves, locked up in a big home or a small home. So effectively we're breaking down those fences, I guess, metaphorically, and enabling parents to connect with the support they need near them whenever they need. Yeah.
It's very exciting. I'm sure it's very exciting for parents who don't know about Huddle already hearing this. They've kind of like got the app downloaded on their phone right as we speak. So how did you end up getting, into business? Like you and Millie are friends from way back. You were living together at the time.
Yeah.
She's based in Sydney, right? And you're now in Queensland. How are you kind of managing that? And tell us a little bit about your co-founder relationship.
Yeah, so Mill and I played netball together at Mossman Netball Club in the mid-90s. So that's how we met, and then we went to Mossman High together for a year. We always got along really well, and our paths crossed, now and then over the years. And I went to, Mill was an actress and living in LA, and I went to visit her, and we went on this, really fun trip to Vegas. And then she ended up moving in with me in Paddington. And that's when, that conversation all happened, and we started building the business. But this last year completely changed, so I was living in Sydney, and, we were both living in the Bondi area, and then conveniently we were both living in the Northern Beaches area, at the same time. So we were always very in close proximity to each other, but that all changed last year. And Mill had her first bub. She had a newborn just before COVID hit, and I started my MBA. So last year was never going to be normal anyway. And then COVID hit, and we were like, oh my gosh.
It's really different.
Really different. Then I bought a camper van and was driving around Queensland running the business and doing my MBA. And Mill was kind of having a big adjustment to having a newborn and not being able to have people around to help because of COVID. And it was a crazy year. But, we've always said that our happiness is so important, because if we're not happy, we don't have the energy that we need to run the business. So we're pretty good at kind of, having those conversations and working out what needs to change to make sure that, we're both at our best as the first priority. I'm pretty sure I went way off on a tangent then and didn't even answer your question.
No, you did.
We're in different states now. So basically I bought a camper van, was traveling around doing the MBA and running Huddle. And then I was driving back down to Sydney and planning to come home. And then I met a guy in the Gold Coast, and fell in love with him and his sons and his staffy dog and and then I didn't leave. So I moved to
I love it.
We bought a house, and I'm settled here now. But practically it's not really any different, because we were always a remote team anyway. The only thing that we miss is, Mill and I having strategy sessions kind of in person and writing things down on butcher's paper and stuff. But other than that, it doesn't really matter where I am at all, because everything's kind of online now anyway, which is good.
And tell us, okay, two things I wanted to ask you about that. Well, probably three now, but tell us what motivated you to want to start an MBA in the middle of kind of launching a business. Did you feel that was something you need to do for yourself personally, or was it something that you were, felt would benefit the business, or both?
It was both. It was kind of a chance meeting. I was invited to come and watch the last year's MBA students present their final marketing assessments to another startup called Sonder. So I went along and watched, and then I met the lady who basically runs the program, and we got chatting, and then she actually told me that there's a Women in Leadership scholarship for the MBA, and that I should think about applying. And I talked to Millie, and I talked about it. And, with Mill pregnant, she was, about to have her first bub, it kind of felt like, all right, well, next year, maybe we'll both be more like part-time on the business while we work on these other two amazing projects, me and MBA and Mill raising her bub. And, some businesses just have one founder. So together we'll definitely be more than one founder. Yeah. And we'll manage and we'll work our way through, because it was something I felt would be really beneficial to help us grow the business, and just to keep learning. And it seemed like such a good opportunity, because I was offered a scholarship. It was too good an opportunity to turn down.
Amazing.
And then it was really lucky in the end, because it would have been pretty difficult, I think, for me psychologically, not having that last year when our business kind of went down to nothing for months at a time. And so I was really, really grateful to be learning and to be doing my MBA during that year.
And was that all remote as well?
It was in the end. Yeah, it was definitely not intended to be. We did like a leadership course out in the bush, which is amazing, with special forces operatives and things like this. So cool. I got to do that, and then we did a few weeks of term one, and then everything went online.
Wow. And was that at Macquarie? UNSW, right? Okay. And was it a good course?
Yeah, amazing. I'm just about finished. I had to put off one subject because I was a bit sick this term, but so I've got one subject to do next term, but let's just say I'm finished.
Yeah, we'll just round it.
I'm basically finished. Yeah.
And have you applied anything into that, the business, from the MBA already, or can you see things that you'll be applying? Are there things that you didn't know? I mean, I can't imagine you didn't know much.
Yeah, there's so much we didn't know, and I think just knowing you don't know everything and having that critical thinking and thought process is probably a big part of it. Knowing that you have, I think humans have bias is something that's just hammered into you during uni, and I think that's been a big learning. Sometimes I think startup founders all have a positivity bias, because otherwise, you do it, you think, oh, this is such a great idea and everyone's going to love it and it's going to be amazing, and you wouldn't do it if you didn't believe that. But that can have it can cause problems too if you're kind of blinding yourself to real problems that need to be solved. So I think that's been something that I've definitely learned to be aware of.
That might have been a hangover from the music industry, where people were like, I reckon this is a smash.
Yeah, exactly. No wonder I ended up in the music industry. So I think you want to harness that positivity, but not to the point where it influences you, where you're not seeing problems. So we've really kind of changed a lot on that, and we love finding problems and solving them, and seeing them as challenges. And then there's all sorts of other things just with decision making. Making sure you're not just in love with an idea and not really looking at the data. We're much better at measuring data and making decisions based off data rather than intuition, or even what customers say, because what customers say and what customers do are very different things. Data is everything.
How are you collecting all that data? What's your tech stack kind of secrets here?
There's lots, some snazzy ways and some very manual ways. So
the old Excel spreadsheet still has a place.
We have an Excel spreadsheet. Yeah, it's you can't kind of get one whiz bang custom dashboard to capture everything you need.
I did always love a dashboard.
Dashboard is still Google Sheets, but we do use Mixpanel, which is great in terms of just tracking user activity and funnels and things like that. And then we basically collate data from heaps of different sources, so from iTunes Connect and from Google Analytics, and we kind of look at it daily, but then we do a monthly recap and report of all our data, just to make any changes or do any analysis we need to. And when we're making decisions, we just dig into something specific and find the data we need to help us make that decision.
And kind of, are there any big learnings that you've had from the data that you can think of, or any big kind of like warning signs that have shown up over the time?
There's certainly been surprising things that wouldn't have been what we expected. So I'm trying to think off the top of my head things that are specific, but we certainly, I don't know about that one off the top of my head, like what specifically data has taught us recently. It feels like it's every day there's something little, and that kind of adds up and accumulates into shaping the app for the future. Might seem like a little decision every day that we make. I guess actually one thing, for example, is our key button in the app for what we want parents to do when they open the app. It used to say create a job, right? And that was because we wanted them to create a job. And then we realised that what parents want is to find a carer. Yeah. So we changed it to find a carer, and the conversion rate went way higher.
Yeah.
And so we measured that. So that's one example. But there's billions of little things like that. That
it must be so interesting just being able to keep tinkering and tweaking and checking the analytics and seeing how improvements.
It's so interesting because you don't know until you test it.
And then you just tell someone that anecdote and you're kind of like, well, that's obvious. And
Millie and I just crack up laughing that like we put that, we even wrote that ever.
Good job. Yeah.
While we're building, we're not thinking about it. We're just like, this is what we want. This is what we want. And then the copy changes just get pushed down to not important to get the app out.
Yeah.
And then, we laugh about that one.
Well, it's funny actually you say that about copy because that is certainly something a marketer is always kind of tweaking, right? To always
I should not have made that mistake.
working on their copy. But the interesting thing is, the copy language is such an evolving kind of beast. Sometimes, you can write some copy that sounds so perfect and then you read it back, down the track and it's not right at all for the moment. I mean, I guess it's a live beast, your business, how people are talking about booking jobs or babysitters, finding care, constantly having to tweak the English language around it.
Right. I probably wouldn't understand half the things that, Gen Y or what Gen X carers are saying on their profiles. But what we're really excited to do this year is do more like artificial intelligence analysis of, reviews and people's profiles to be able to capture more kind of specifically and more accurately what people are about, and then to match people based off that, like real language, processing rather than tick box type, what do you like, but actually really capturing the words that they've written and to use that in a more clever way. So
kind of reuse it back to them almost when you're
or use it to match, like to predict a successful match. It does really sound like a dating app now, but you might it might help us to know that like for example, one family might book an older carer who is very nurturing and warm for one job, and they give them 5 stars and rate them really highly, but that was an evening job when the baby, the toddler was asleep. And actually the next job, they don't want someone like that. They want someone really active and energetic and fun, who can get down on the floor and play or whatever. And so artificial intelligence will enable us to actually understand that better and to match even smarter than we are now.
Oh, that's so cool.
Hopefully it's a big piece of work, but we'd love to kind of really lead the market with that stuff.
And how big is the team now? Like what is the size of a team that's kind of building this kind of tech, or have you got lots of contractors that work for you? And
it's mostly contractors, so we're pretty lean. We've got 5 of us full-time and then our 3 advisors, but in terms of the beefing up the tech, we use contractors just to kind of get a sprint out, and then because it's not something we need, or we don't, it's a bit unpredictable to be able to have a big full-time team at the moment. So
absolutely,
pick it up when we need.
And one of the things I wanted to ask you was just what are your biggest learnings over the course of being an entrepreneur and co-founder of Huddle?
I think one of them was what I was saying before, just about like critical thinking and understanding our bias and how our minds work when we're making decisions. And I think also just what Millie, my co-founder, has really taught me is like people are everything, and our team and how we treat our team and our culture and being empathetic and caring towards not just our community but also our internal team has made such a nice environment to work in. I think everyone's really, really like on board with what we're doing, and they're really driven by our mission, and they're really caring, nice people. And that's just like, this is, it's hard, so let's all at least have fun doing it and be really be kind and caring to each other, and then it's much easier. And life throws unpredictable things at people, and so our team are very very understanding and pick things up and help out and work late or do whatever is needed to make sure it's easy on each other. So really making sure we build our team with the right people from the start has been something that Millie taught me that I think's been really, really beneficial.
Have you kind of got any a framework for what that looks like, or how do you get good at recruiting good people?
We have our brand guidelines and our brand book and kind of our values, and we share that with candidates, and but really you just get a feel for people when you talk to them. Our customer happiness team are just the most divine, lovely women, and their mums themselves, they understand our customers, and we just get constantly beautiful feedback about them. And yeah, I think it's just something that's kind of been really natural to Millie and that I've learned from her.
You were like that. Oh, anyway.
I'd like you a little bit, but yeah, Millie's just unbelievably, good people person, and just so caring. So yeah, I think we've lucked out in a way. The combination of us, we've built a good hardworking team who love what they do.
And so you're up in Queensland now, and you said you've repartnered. You've got an instant family, and what else is on the horizon for you and your business?
Yeah, so this year we've got because we were kind of had a bit of extra downtime to strategize last year. As I was saying, we were kind of guessing what this new world is going to look like. So we've got some really exciting product changes in the works, and I can't wait to share them with you. I think there's going to be some really hopefully really beneficial to both sides of our community. I think what we've tried to do, and I think what sets us apart, is how much we care about the carers and the babysitters and nannies, as well as the families in our community, and making sure that they're happy and we're looking after them, and that's how we attract the best carers, and therefore we attract the families. So we've got some exciting changes around that, and then just working with more and more businesses to enable employee benefits. That's kind of our focus for this year.
That's awesome.
So we're trying to keep it really quite focused on product and corporates this year, and and build that way.
And one of the things that kind of you're able to do because of this kind of job is have more flexibility. Like, what are you doing in your spare time up there? You've got a new location. You haven't really known Gold Coast that much before, have you?
No, I haven't known the Gold Coast, and it's just incredible. Yeah, we're so grateful to have flexibility. Like, Millie and I work so hard, but we both are lucky enough to live near the beach, and we just really love that lifestyle. My partner is a surfer, he's a big wave surfer, and his boys surf, so we're always at the beach and at the creek, at the waterfalls, bushwalking, jogging on the beach, taking the dogs to the park. It's lovely. It's low key and quiet. And
is there much of a tech world up there? Are you amongst like-minded people?
No, so actually that's one thing I wanted to say. I don't have a network up here, so if anyone's listening in the Gold Coast, I'd love to connect and chat if I can support you, or just chat and see what's going on. I would love to, so just hit me up on LinkedIn.
Perfect. Okay, we'll do that. Okay, well, we're going to wrap up now, but at the end of each of our interviews, we get our guests to answer 2 questions, and one is, what book has really moved you over the years and you like to recommend, and the other one is, if you had a worldwide megaphone, what do you want to say at this point in time?
Yeah, okay, so one of a book that's really changed things for me recently, my co-founder, I talk about her so much, she's amazing. She gave me this audio book for Christmas called The Resilience Project, and it's this guy Hugh, and he's telling amazing stories about people from all walks of life that communicates his message about the 3 principles to finding happiness, which are gratitude, empathy, and mindfulness. He does it in just this really funny, relatable, vulnerable way. And I definitely have not mastered all of them, but I'm trying, and it's just, it's really lovely. So I'd recommend that. Megaphone, that's extremely daunting question. I'd probably say don't listen to me, but listen to the really smart people out there who know about important things like climate change.
Stop being humble.
But also I think listening to our kids, I just also wanted to tell a little story that my partner's kids, who are 8 and 9, gave us a schooling the other day asking us to try a little harder with plastic-free lunch boxes. They always pick up the rubbish they see on the beach, and they want to campaign their school to get rid of plastic in the tuck shop. So I think, you can learn
always learning.
Be inspired, so and probably one thing for business owners here I was saying I didn't want to speak on a megaphone and now I can't stop. I would say to business owners and parents, don't be afraid to ask for help. People love to help others, and that's what the Village is all about. So
I love it. Perfect. Thank you so much, Alice. This has been such a cool interview. I just knew it would be, but it's blown my mind how well and how exciting this business of yours has become over the last 5 years. And I look at you, and I could have, it could be 5 years ago, you look exactly the same as ever. And I'm so pleased that everything's going so well in the business and personally too. So thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Mia. Awesome. Thank you for always being such an incredible support and a friend, and doing brilliant things yourself. So
if you enjoy this podcast, subscribe via your preferred podcast platform for more episodes of A Moment with Modern Mentors.